I hope you would understand that this is from my heart. Hopefully, we will explain this a little bit more. But first of all, I want to thank the council and the community for being patient over the past 12 months. As we reviewed the total economic development process, and as I repeatedly said during my campaign, and I know some of you that were running for office did the same, that if I were elected, that we would set out to do this task. I will be the first to tell you that this required a lot of time and effort to review the total economic development process, and rightly so, because anytime you begin to talk about or question what's already in place, it means some change could be on the horizon, and change is scary to most of us. Whether or not you agree with the process, I think most of you will agree it began a long overdue discussion among many of our wonderful boards and organizations that are tied to economic development, as well as from public input. My goal from the beginning was to try to pull together all of our economic engine so that we might move forward together as one unit. And although one part of that engine has received a lot of the attention, and I think you know what we're talking about in recent months, I wanted to give a quick overview of the JC Invest Board, a structure that I believe will help us move toward the original goal. Before we look at the structure, let me make some comments. This board, according to the ordinance you are considering, will have no budget at this time, no budget or control over funds. This board will act as a conduit for economic development information, a give and take of ideas, help commission, oversee, and implement an overall comprehensive strategic plan for our community. This board will advise and make recommendations in the area of economic development to city, county, and the town of Hanover elected bodies. Although representatives from the county commissioners, county council, and Hanover Town Board have verbally shown support for this organizational structure, it is the city's intention to seek an interlocal agreement with those bodies as soon as we have an approved city ordinance. I might also mention that Dick McCracken, who is chair of the Blue Ribbon Panel, has enthusiastically endorsed JC Invest and will serve as an advisor for 1 year, and that was his wish. Mike Flint, vice chair of the Blue Ribbon Panel, has also stated that he is supportive of the JC Invest plan. As you look at the makeup of the board, go ahead. As you look at the makeup of the board, it is our opinion that there is a link to every sector of our economy. If you'd have seen us in my office when over the past few months, and we had the big whiteboard, a lot of these organizations that weren't on the chart we've been putting out were listed. It's just that we couldn't put everything on when we were trying to just get this out to the public. If an individual or organization feels they are not represented by a sector rep, they can come directly to the JC Invest Board, the City Community Relations Director, or one of the elected bodies represented on the board. And finally, it would be our intention to have a citizens group, if you will, appointed by the 5 elected officials to interact and provide input during the process of compiling a comprehensive plan, which will be one of the first acts of this board. And what I wanted to do is, as you can see here, the JC Invest Board is made up of 5 elected officials: the Madison Mayor, Town of Hanover representative, City Council rep, County Council rep, and County Commissioner rep, along with 6 sector representatives. The first I want to bring up is the Industrial Development Director, which is the Executive Director of the Restructured EDP Board. You can also see that their main mission is to work with industry attraction, as well as working with current industry and manufacturing, making sure that they are happy with where they are. There's a lot of competition out there today. This would be a conduit for subcultures such as agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, healthcare, banking, among others. As you know, part of that memorandum of understanding would be that they look at the possibility of memberships, which would also bring in a lot more of our economic structure. That is just something they're going to look at along with the Chamber of Commerce, work on that together. That is not something that is mandatory. The second sector, by the way, I want to mention that all but one of these sectors that we're going to mention tonight currently are tied to some type of a board. And that's important. That was important to us so that we could at least get a start on the board. It was a little bit easier to decide who we would recommend for the board to start with. So the second sector would be workforce development and education. And you can see that this would include the Education Coalition, ECHO 15, Hanover College, Ivy Tech, local schools, among others. I have asked Kathy Huffman the ECHO 15 to work with us to begin with on this board. She is tied, after talking with her, she is tied with most of these other education groups on one board or the other. This is addressed in the ordinance that at the end of the year, these local boards or bodies can decide who they want as a representative from then on. The third would be small business, which we would say is the Chamber of Commerce. That would be the executive director. Trevor's here tonight, so we've had several discussions about this. And we also know that, Larry, I think we talked a little bit about not just talking about small business, but that's kind of been what the Chamber has been earmarked for. But I'm excited about their direction as far as including all of the business in Madison and working together. I know Trevor's been doing a great job there. Next would be downtown development. You've already heard from Whitney, the Main Street Program Director from the Main Street Board. Next would be tourism. Visit Madison Inc., Executive Director Linda Lytle. Is Linda here? Yeah, Linda's here tonight. We've talked several times about this, and I appreciate those that are willing to kind of go with us on this to start this program, because I think it's going to be an exciting time for us and a learning process for all of us at the same time. If you notice festivals and events, Linda works with most of these festivals and events that come to town, but we also wanted to show you a little bit later where there could also be a link if someone feels that they're not included in one of these sectors. Last was quality of place, and this is the one that really does not have an existing board. But we're talking about historic, community preservation, arts, culture, parks and recreation, nonprofit and civic organizations. And although at this particular time we don't have someone that's a permanent rep, I do have one or two people that have agreed to work with us on that temporarily. So we are moving forward with that. We also wanted you to know that the Community Relations Director for the city, which is Andrew Forster, will be an advisor on this board. Andrew has become a link to a lot of the different things that are going on in the community. So between him and the elected bodies that are represented here, and all the sectors, we feel that there is a link to most of what's out there as far as economic development is concerned. I did want to read these notes at the bottom. Groups mentioned are not meant to be exhausting. In other words, we know there are a lot of other great groups out there. And I think this is one of the issues we've been dealing with for years, guys. We have a lot of great organizations and boards out there. And our goal is to try to pull all that information together and work together as a unit. Is this going to happen overnight? No. Is this going to be a perfect fit for everyone to start with? No. But I think this is a good start for us. And guys, this is not my plan. This is our community's plan. And some of you may not completely agree with it. I understand that. But I ask that let's support this together and move forward, and let's try to make this work. Other groups can come directly to the JC Invest or coordinate with the City of Madison. Each of these sectors will have a variety of other groups and organizations that will continue to be a part of their organizational structure, and through it, flow information. Example, festivals will continue to coordinate through Visit Madison, Inc., where information will flow through the Executive Director to JC Invest, and also through the Community Relations Director. So I want to just give you that quick overview, and then we'll open it for discussion.